We got one final game here to talk about, and that is going to be the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. So let's jump to that box score real quick. The Steelers come through and improve to 4-0, defeating the Eagles in the Battle of Pennsylvania. I don't know what you guys call it over there. 38-29. The Eagles are now 1-3-1. Carson Wentz continues to look meh, and that was 20 of 35 for 258 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Miles Sanders' game looks better than it actually was. His stat line, 11 carries for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. Miles Sanders had 74 yards come off of one play, and that was the monster touchdown run that he had. So if you were to take that away, it really wasn't a great day for him whatsoever. Travis Fulghum, wow, what a performance he had. 10 of 13, 152 receiving yards, and a touchdown. He's a guy who we're going to be talking about. And Zach Ertz duds. Yet again, I don't know what the fuck is happening here with him, man. One reception, 6 targets, 6 yards. We're going to have to spend some time talking about Zach Ertz here. Going over to the Steelers, though, and the winning team in this battle, Big Ben balls out yet again, 27-38, 239 yards, and 3 touchdowns. James Conner, again, when James Conner is healthy, you are playing him. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about this. 15 carries, 400. Imagine, yeah. With the way that I'm hyping him up, he might as well have 400 yards, 44 yards, and a touchdown. Chase fucking Claypool, 7 of 11. 110 yards and 4 touchdowns. 3 of them were receiving touchdowns, and 1 was a reverse pass, so that counts as a rushing touchdown. And Diontae Johnson left this game in the second quarter due to a back injury. We got a few things to talk about here from this game. Let's start off with the Eagles real quick. Miles Sanders, just again, that 74-yard touchdown run makes his game look way better than it actually was. But regardless, points are points, and we're gonna take it. I said in my preview, you were still starting Miles Sanders because you had to, but you had to really lower your expectations. So to see him come through in a game like this and really just put on a show was really cool. Let's see here. For the wide receiving core, Travis Fulghum, we just need to. I'm really trying to figure out what to do with him. In all honesty, right? This is a guy, Alshon Jeffrey might be back next week. Deshaun Jackson might be back next week, but Travis Fulghum, just a name to keep an eye on, just in case these guys aren't. They actually play Baltimore next week, so it's not a great matchup by any means. But Fulghum, like 13 targets in this game. He was the clear-cut number one wide receiver. He got it done in the end zone now in back-to-back games, and it looks like he has some level of chemistry with Carson Wentz, so he's not a name that we can fully ignore. What I would actually do, and I think this is actually a pretty interesting idea, I would consider picking up Fulghum off waivers. I wouldn't spend a ton on him, all things considered, but I would pick him up this week, see if Alshon Jeffrey or Deshaun Jackson are active, and depending on if they are, I would then either keep Fulghum or I would cut him again and pick back up whoever I dropped. I think that's a bit of an interesting strategy for this week, just because if he is going to get if he is going to get 13 targets, catch 10 passes in a game where they should be trailing versus Baltimore, there is opportunity for Fulghum to have another great game. Let's talk about Zach Ertz real quick, and then we'll shift back over to the Steelers. Ertz just isn't getting it done. The snaps are there, the targets are there. 5, 7, 4. I'm sorry. Those were the reception totals. 7, 7, 10, 5, 6. The targets are there. He's just not coming through. Plays Baltimore, then the Giants, then Dallas, then a bye week. What do you do with Zach Ertz? Dallas Goedert's still out with that ankle injury. So what I would likely do, I really think you have to stay the course with them. I really do. Just judging off of the landscape of the tight end position, how many tight ends are actively going to be available? I'm going to pull this up right now. Let's go season. All right. So, for example, right? Kelsey, Andrews, Waller. Robert Tanyan is currently the number 4 tight end, but that's because of the big week. He's actually a guy, if Tanyan's on your waiver wire, I'd rather have Tanyan rest of the season than Zach Ertz. I'd rather have Zach Ertz over Mike Gesicki. George Kittle, obviously. I'd rather have Kittle. But just going through like the list here just a little bit, the tight end landscape, again, just is an utter shambles. We thought this year it would be so good, and it just hasn't been. And that's the reason why I'm going to continue to stick it out with Zach Ertz, because of the fact of your options. Because of the fact that your options are so limited now at this point, and the tight ends who you're actually confident in picking up week in and week out, unless you want to try and stream the position every single week, that's maybe an interesting debate that you could have. But for now, I'd keep Ertz. Maybe there's a team in your league that rosters multiple tight ends, and you want to try and pry one away. That's an option for you. But as currently stands, I just think you have to roll with the punches still. It's not fun. It's never a good time to start a tight end who's underperforming in this way. But with this Eagles offense, there's still not a whole lot of weapons there, and Zach Ertz should be able to get it done, and he just hasn't for you for one reason or another. So with Ertz, I'm gonna hold him because I'm holding him because I don't anticipate that there is a better option on your waiver wire than Zach Ertz. Again, the number 1 target I'd look for is Robert Tanyan, and if not Tanyan, then maybe JuJu Smith is on your waiver wire still. I'm not entirely sure. Let me do this real quick. I'm going to. So I'm gonna look up add player. I'm gonna look up the availability of some tight ends right now. Let's go roster. There we go. Okay, so Robert Tanyan in ESPN leagues is currently rostered in 48%. Austin Hooper, who's seeing increased in targets and increased volume in Cleveland, I talked about him already in this video. He is seeing 45% he's being rostered in 45% of leagues. He's another name to keep an eye on. Let's see. Anybody else though? Like, are we really gonna go with TJ Hawkinson? I mean, maybe. He's seeing actually more work than I anticipated he would. Hawkinson's an interesting name. If you want to roll the dice on, it's never a fun thing, but Jimmy Graham has weekly touchdown potential week in and week out. So if you want to spin that wheel, you can. But I think you really get the point now. And if you've been paying attention to the tight end landscape with Tyler Higbee going here then down here, Noah Fant obviously being injured, Hayden Hurst dead. Tyler, or who's another name I can throw out real quick? Chris Herndon. The expectation he would be up here, and he's down here at the bottom. So the tight end landscape is all of a sudden a barren wasteland. So if you have Zach Ertz, you got to make that decision. I'd probably keep him and just roll with it. It's been tough sledding, but hopefully better days are ahead because again the targets and the snaps are there for him. Moving over to the Steelers real quick though. Ben Roethlisberger needs to be rostered. It really is unbelievable. 20 plus fantasy points, I think, in every single game. He's played really well. His cast of weapons is superb between James Conner, Diontae Johnson, who's been injured, more on him in just a bit, JuJu, and then Chase Claypool, Eric Ebron. Like, he's just got a cast of weapons here that he can just gunsling to. And that's got to be really great for a quarterback to be aging, to have the confidence and the talent around him to continue to put up great numbers. James Conner, you're starting him every single week. It's my favorite thing. The James Conner hate went too far this offseason, and you were able to get him at such a value in that 4th, 5th, or 6th round territory. Just to see him produce in the way that he has, it's been super, super cool. In terms of the receiving options here, I'm not going to panic about JuJu. Just trying to figure out where JuJu fits into the grand scheme of things. Luckily, he was being drafted in a spot where maybe he's not your number 1 wide receiver, but he's more so your 2, and he's fine for you in that role. But with JuJu, it really is just understanding that there are other guys now in this offense. So what JuJu's actual ceiling is to be determined. but I still feel pretty confident in what JuJu's floor is on a week-in, week-out basis. This matchup versus Philadelphia wasn't a great one. I know I got a lot of tweets saying that Darius Slay, one of the best corners in the NFL, was on JuJu pretty much all game, so that's obviously going to take away from JuJu's production, and that's something that I honestly didn't even consider in factoring JuJu Smith Schuster for the week, because JuJu for me is just a guy where if you got him, you're probably going to play him week in and week out. Chase Claypool, I whiffed on Chase Claypool. I did. This offseason, during my dynasty stuff, just going through wide receivers, and obviously this is one of the best wide receiver class, maybe of all time, with the way that things have shaken out early on here. So to see Chase Claypool play well is just another testament to how deep this draft class was. Just going through Chase Claypool and breaking down some of his tape and just my projection for him in the NFL, I honestly really didn't even see it. But of course, he goes to a great organization with coaches that know how to maximize players and talents, and he's balled out. Just to see him have a game where he scores 4 touchdowns, being targeted 11 times, it's wild. People are going to chase points, though, and that's not a pun. That is an unintended pun here. So people are going to chase points with Chase Claypool, and I actually think that might be the wrong strategy. Claypool is going to continue to be good. He is, especially if Diontae Johnson continues to miss time due to his variety of injuries, being concussed and now this back injury, which I think is going to keep him out for probably a week or so. So Claypool should be rostered, but let's not get crazy and throw him into our lineup immediately. If Diontae Johnson is out, maybe by all means go ahead, right? In that case, you got the green light to do it, but I'm not going to be in a place where I'm going to rush and chase the points and throw them into my lineup immediately. Mike Clay pointed this out of ESPN. Chase Claypool has 4 touchdowns on the year without a single red zone target, and that's borderline absurd. He was making the point that regression is coming, and you got to kind of agree to that. But I guess with that being said, is what does he look like when he actually does get those red zone looks? So while yes, the argument that red zone or that regression is coming for him, there's actually the argument for the other side that he's only going to continue to get better and better and better because of the fact that he hasn't even been targeted at that point of the field. So Chase Claypool is a guy who I'm going to look to add. I wouldn't go crazy on Fab for him, because I don't think he's going to be an absolute game breaker by any means. But if you needed to and you're needy at wide receiver, he's definitely probably one of the top priorities on the week. Anything else here? I don't think so. I think we pretty much covered it for this game.